Hi. So today we will talk about section 7.4, how to add and subtract fractions. Okay, so let's do some review. If for the fractions, 4/6 add 1/6, if they have the same denominator, what you need to do is you just add or subtract the numerator and the denominator will remain the same. So in this case, it equals to 4 plus 1/6, which is 5/6. If they're different, for example, 4/3 plus 1/6. What's the first step is you need to find the least common denominator. So in this case, would be 6. So I want to turn 4/3 as what? I need to times 2 for the top and bottom. I'll have 8/6 plus 1/6, which is 9/6. So this is two steps. Find the common denominator, and then what? We just did what we did earlier before. We just add or subtract the numerator, and then keep the denominator the same. So when it comes to fraction, it will remain the same. For example, we have x minus 4 over x squared minus 2x minus 8 plus x plus 8, x squared minus 2x minus 8. Since they have the same denominator, what we need to do is we just need to add the numerator and then combine the like terms. So we have x minus 4 at x plus 8 over x squared minus 2x minus 8. Next part is we want to combine the like terms. So I have a 2x plus 4 over x squared minus 2x minus 8. Well, we can try to reduce the fraction. The first step is we want to factor the numerator and the denominator. So for the numerator, common factor is 2. We factor 2 out. We have a 2 times x plus 2 over numerator. We use AC method. We have x minus 4 times x plus 2. So since they both have x plus 2 as a common factor, so we can divide out x plus 2. So the function would be 2 over x minus 4. So subtraction follows the same pattern, but we need to be careful about the sign problem. For example, we have a 6x minus 12 over 3x minus 6, subtract 15x minus 6 over 3x minus 6. Since they have the same denominator, what we need to do is we just need to subtract the numerator. So we have a 6x minus 12 subtract 15x minus 6 over 3x minus 6. Aha! Well, if you did something like that, you will make a tiny mistakes because you're subtracting the whole part of the second fraction. So to avoid that kind of mistake, it would be easier if we can add a parenthesis, because we know that when we try to remove the parentheses, the sign in the parentheses is going to change. If it's negative, it's going to become a positive. If it's a positive, it will going to become a negative. So always add a parenthesis, like what I did earlier before. Even though it's an adding, I still put a parenthesis that I just want this to become a habit to avoid making some mistakes. Okay, so I have a 6x minus 12 minus 15x plus 6 over 3x subtract 6. Now we combine the like terms. I have negative 9x minus 6 over 3x minus 6. Now, we want to find the common, we want to factor out the denominator and the numerator. So for the numerator, the common factor would be negative 3. So I have what? 3x plus 2 over the denominator, common factor is what? 3. So I have x minus 2. What's their common factor? Well, they both have 3, so we can divide out 3. So we have negative 3x plus 2 over x minus 2. Okay, so what if the case is like our second example that we gave earlier? They don't have a common denominator. What we need to do first is find the least common denominator. We did a lot of this practice earlier before on last week. So now let's use some example. For example, we have 7a over 3a squared b plus 4b over 6ab to the fourth. So what's the least common denominator? In our case is 6a squared and b to the fourth. Now we need to construct these two fractions in order to make them to have the same common denominator. So for the first one, we need to times 2 times b to the third, top and bottom. For the second one, we need to times a, the denominator and numerator. So now we construct a new function, which is a third 6a squared b to the fourth at 4ab over 6a squared b to the fourth. Now, since they have the same denominator, we can just add the numerator together. I have 14a to the third plus 4ab over 6a squared b to the fourth. What you can do is, we want to factor the numerator. Okay, so the common factor would be 2 times ab. So that I have a 7 times b squared plus 2 over 6a squared b to the fourth. Now we can reduce the fraction and then divide out the factors. What's the factors? 2a and b. So I will have 6 divided by 2 of 3 remain b a. This becomes 3. So now I have what? 7b squared plus 2 over 3 times a b to the third. Okay, according to my experience, lots of people make this mistake, such as, for example, I have x squared x plus 1 over x. Oh, they have an x in the numerator and x in the denominator, so now we can factor it. Okay, let me use a 2. 2 would be easier. I can factor both x, so what's remain is 2. This is totally wrong because we're missing x on this term. X is not the common factor of the numerator, so that's why we can't just divide the x out like that. If x is in every terms like that, so we can divide the x out, that will end up to 1 plus 2, which is 3. This is correct, right? What I did previously is incorrect. Please avoid doing that because lots of people will make a mistake when I teach Math 111. Okay, so what's next? Let's have another example that if they don't have a common denominator. Okay, so now we have a 5a and 4a squared. We need to find the least common denominator, which is 20a squared. So we want to build up a fractions that meet that 20a squared. So I have ya times 4a times 4a minus 7b over a squared times 5 times 5. I have 16a over 20a squared minus 13.5b over 20a squared. We simplify it, we have 16a minus 13.5b over 20a squared. Okay, so for this one, they don't have any common factor. So that is the simplest form. So that would be the solution. Okay, let's have another one. What if the function is like 6, and then 8a plus 4 plus 3a over 8. What you can do is you can factor the denominator first to find the least common denominator. Okay, so 8a plus 4, what's their common? 4 is their common factor. And then what you remain is 2a plus 1 plus 3a over 8. So now, what? The least common denominator is a times 2a plus 1. So for the first fraction, what you need to do is you need to times 2 on the top and bottom. For the second one, I want to times 2a plus 1, 2a plus 1 top and bottom to build up the least common denominator. So the first one is 12 over 8, 2a plus 1. The second one would be 3a, 2a plus 1 over a times 2a plus 1. Now they have the same denominator. I just need to add the numerator. We can simplify it by distribute the 3a inside. So I have what? 12 plus 6a squared plus 3a over a times 2a plus 1. You can leave it in this way, or you can distribute the a inside. Whatever way it works. Because they don't have a common factor, that means they can reduce. That would be the simplest form. Okay, so now I want to try something with the negative sign, because we always have a problem with the negative sign. According to my experience, when you're doing the calculation, you always forgot to change the sign. The easier way to do is, like I say, put a parenthesis for the second term, the second fraction's numerator. Such as this one. Okay, they look at the denominator. They look totally different, right? What's the first step? You want to factor the denominator out. I have what? I use the AC method, so I have x minus 4 times x minus 3. Okay, so the least common denominator is what? S minus 4 times x minus 3. So that means I just need the second one, the first one times x minus 3 on the top and bottom. And the second one will remain the same. Okay, so now they have the same denominator. We can just subtract the top. So what do we need to put? Parentheses, because I don't want to forget to change the sign in here as a negative. Okay, so now I want to, what? Well, you can either simplify it, or what you can see is, hey, they both have x minus 1, x plus 1. So this is a common factor, right? You can factor these out. You will have x plus 1 times x minus 3 minus 1, because this is x plus 1 times 1. So that means this is subtract, so we need to subtract 1 over x minus 4, x minus 3. Aha. We have what? We can divide out x minus 4. So what's remaining is x plus 1 over x minus 3. So that's it for 7.4. And then on Wednesday, we will talk about 7.5. And don't forget that we have a quiz today. Make sure you do the quiz today. I'll see you.